This is First Peter chapter 2 in verse 4 in the KJV. To whom coming as unto a living stone disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of the Most High and precious. Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house in a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to the Most High by Yahweh Shai Mashiach. I want to give all the praise and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kodash. And double honors to the elder apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit, and the mighty Shalom to the hopeful elect. In the same Spirit, Lord willing that y'all all as a whole continue in sound doctrine, and in the same Spirit, Shalom to the Akwath that are believers of this faith and this truth. Lord willing that you continue to pursue your lot, which is being a loving and silent and virtuous wife, and continue, right, to endure and be sincere. And Lord willing, the Most have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. This is First Peter chapter 2, verse 4 to 5 in the NLT. You are coming to Hamashiach, who is the living cornerstone of the Most High's temple. He was rejected by people, but he was chosen by the Most High for great honor. And you are living stones that the Most High is building into his spiritual temple. What's more, you are his holy priest. Through the meditation of Yahweh Shai Mashiach, you offer spiritual sacrifices that please the Most High, right? And this lesson is going into a question or a video that, a sister that is a so-called believer, and I believe brothers too, that want to know what is the third temple, right? Because some people might be stuck thinking what these Edomites is doing in the third temple in the red heifer, right? But the main point is to show you that the third temple is the Israelites. And on this side, it will really be fulfilled through the elect, right? So we're going to use scriptures to prove and show the Israelites themselves are the third temple, right? Because the Most High is no longer dwelling in physical temples. He never have, right? Except for, of course, he has a temple in the heaven, right? Heaven is his throne and earth is his footstool, right? And temples made by hand, the Heavenly Father don't dwell. But in his chosen people, he dwells in. That's why we see in St. John 15, if you abide in me, I abide in you. And the Father abides in Yahweh Shai. That's why they are one, right? So let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter, in verse 16 to 17 in the KJV. And this is what it reads. It says, know ye not that ye are the temple of the Most High, in that the Spirit of the Most High dwelleth in you? If any man defileth the temple of the Most High, him shall the Most High destroy. For the temple of the Most High is holy, which temple ye are, right? Holy is supposed to be set apart. When we go to Hebrews 10, right, the things of the law was a foreshadow of that something good that is coming, which is Yahweh Shai. So that physical temple was to really bring forth Yahweh Shai, because the temple, right, who went into the most holiest place in the temple? The high priest. Yahweh Shai is that high priest under the order of Melchizedek. So Yahweh Shai went through that veil unto the Heavenly Father, going to the fourth dimension, right, and going to come and deliver us and allow the elect to be joint heirs with him, right? But this physical body is the temple of the Lord, because this vessel is where he will put the Rakah Kodash, will sit within your temple. This is where you get that breath of life. This is where you get that fire from, right? In the temple that you have, especially in this faith, you're going to move set apart from this world, where you won't be identical to the reflections of this world, just like 1 John 2:15, 16, and 17. This temple is not going to love this world, right? Because this temple, through the Spirit, is of the heavens. It's not earthly, right? So now let's go to Ephesians, the second chapter, in verse 19, and we're going to read from verse 19 to 22. And this is what it reads. It says, "Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints." The saints is those that made a sacrifice with the Lord. Psalms 50 and 5. Psalms 148, verse 14 show you that they are Israelites. And of the household of the Most High. Because to truly be at his temple, you have to be spiritual. You have to have the spirit of the Lord. You can't be of this world. 1 Corinthians 2 and 14. And are built upon the foundation of the apostles and the prophets, Yahushua HaMashiach himself being the chief cornerstone, right? Through Yahushua, the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the teachers of his word, they're gathering the sheep, whether worthy or unworthy, and Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is sifting through to bring the elect that are going to be unmovable in this thing, especially when shit hit the fan. Verse 21, "In whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto an holy temple in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua." It's really framed because of the elect, right? It might be some people that's imitating that they in this truth, but really through the spirit in the eyes of the Lord, it is fitly framed, because the Lord know who is his sheep and who is not. The Lord know who's going to be removed at the certain time of who they is. But this sheep that's fully at his temple are they were moved through the Rakak Qadash to believe, because Yahweh Shai seen in their heart that they were faithful, and he enabled them in this ministry. Verse 22, "In whom ye are also are builded together for an habitation of the Most High through the Spirit." Right? We are in a habitation of the Most High through the Spirit, all because of Yahweh Shai. Right? This temple is coming together because of the Spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. How much even more? Because when we actually, do I want that? No, I'm going to go to this one. St. John, the 6th chapter, in verse 63. This is another example how we all came together in this beautiful temple. This is St. John 6 and 63 in the KJV. "It is the spirit that quickeneth," what means to make alive. "The flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life." Right? The flesh profit nothing. What do the flesh want to do? Let's build a temple. Let's build a church for the Lord. No. If you are of the Lord, you are already a part of that spiritual house that we read in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. Right? Because all the things of this earth, and the heavens and earth, can pass away, but the word of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai will be here forever. Your spirit is of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Right? So the Lord is dealing with the spirit, right? Which is dwelling in your temple. That's why if we know that Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is dwelling with us, he's dealing with us, this is why we abstain from things that are abomination, things that's a dislike unto the Lord, things that are of the flesh, right? Where we're not cleaving to the behaviors of this world, right? So now, let's go to 2 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, in verse 16. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 6, in verse 16. It says, "In what agreement have the temple of the Most High with idols? For ye are the temple of the living power, as the Most High have said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their power, and they shall be my people." Really, when we come in this thing, it's really the Lord that's moving through us. Now, when we moving in the flesh, we're doing things of the world, or lust, covetousness, right? That's not the Lord dwelling in us, right? Because there's no deceit or wickedness in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, right? It's the nature of man. When we move more in the spirit, right, we have more of a spiritual flow, right? Actually, because I quoted it, we might as well go to it. Saint 1 John chapter 2, and I'm going to just read in the NLT, verse 15. It says, "Do not love this world, neither the things it offers you. For when you love the world, you do not have the love of the Father in you. For the world offereth only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from this world." When we go to Ephesians 1 and 14 in the Amplified Bible, it shows you the first installment his believers get is the Rakah Kodash, right? Us believing in Yahweh Shai, us believing in the name, right? The Heavenly Father is going to send that Rakah Kodash in the name of Yahweh Shai. And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave. But anyone who does what pleases the Most High will live forever, right? So we don't want to crave the things of this world, but we want to crave the things that are heavenly, like Colossians 3 and 2. Set your affections on things above. That's why your spirit will draw you to be like thinking of the kingdom. So again, Yasharella, Israel, is the temple, and Yahweh Shai is the foundation of the temple. Let's get St. John chapter 2, and let's get verse 19, and we'll read to verse 21. It says, Yahweh Shai answered and said unto them, "Destroy this temple in 3 days, and I will raise it up." Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? He was speaking about the body. But he spake of the temple of his body. And through the Spirit, even when we look at it, just like how when one brother was speaking on when Yahweh Shai came into play, starting with Ezra's, that Ezra's, I think he started performing to start teaching, not like within the creation of this earth, like in 9,500 years. And 500 years later, Yahweh Shai came into play, which in 500 years will mark 10,000. 2,000 years later from that is 12,000 years. And really, we're walking into that 13,000 year period, right? Which is really symbolic. I'm just saying symbolic, like when Yahweh Shai is going to come in 3 days, right? He was here 2,000 years ago, and really to add another 1,000 to Yahweh Shai, right, or another day, that would be 3 days Yahweh Shai would come. But through the Spirit, let's just scratch that, but through the Spirit, while Yahweh Shai is with the Heavenly Father, in the time that we're in, 2,000 years later from Yahweh Shai is rebuilding the spiritual temple. So it's like what he was saying, you could take in the physical sense, because he was speaking about his physical body. But then when we understand that the Lord is rebuilding the tabernacles of David, and the tabernacles of David is a spiritual house, a spiritual temple, the Lord is rebuilding this temple. And it fully started to happen when Yahweh Shai went up to the Father, Acts 1 and 9, and then the apostles start bringing forth this ministry really to the Gentiles. The falling away happened in the time of Rome, or in the fall of Rome, all the way leading to what? 1969, 1970. Now the truth is grown back because the Lord started putting that breath of life in us when that time he fell fit. And the truth been out here for 56 years, if we was to be, estimate the time, right? So right now, through the Spirit, the Lord is building this spiritual temple. And how? By baptizing us in the name of the Father and the Son and the Rakah Kodash through his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? So again, what we read, St. John 2, 19, 21, Yahweh Shai is the head and cornerstone, and the Israelites are the living stones, which we read in 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 5. Let me just read it again. Ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to the Most High by Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. That spiritual sacrifice is just like in Romans 12:1. We're laying down ourselves as a living sacrifice. First starting with you men, what you do as charity work for the sheep, for the gathering of Israel, so that the Lord, through this teaching, is going to sift out, the corrupted fruit, right? We're planting seeds in a place of concourse, right? But again, prophecy of the spiritual temple, Amos 9:11, in that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins. The ruins is the Israelites. We're scattered four corners of the earth. Yahweh Shema Shai is raising those ruins, and it's going to be the elect that are going to be unmovable and stand fast, and I will build it as in the days of old, but even better. In the days of old, under David and Solomon, we were ruling. We could add both of those for 80 years. In Solomon time, it was peace. But I'm even saying it's going to be greater because now the kingdom ain't going to never fall. But going back, he's going to raise it back in the days of old, that the Israelites are going to be on top and the other nations are going to be subjected under us, right? We're the connection to Yahweh B'Ashem Yahushai. And the same thing how we're connected to the Heavenly Father Yahweh through Yahweh Shai. The other nations are going to be connected to Yahweh B'Ashem Yahushai through us, because the Lord is going to make us kings and priests, and we're going to have to teach and edify the other nations on our laws and our customs, because there's going to only be one faith and one power being spoken of, right? So the tabernacles of David is truly the 144,000, the elect of Israel being raised up as the true temple. These are men. Now let me just we gonna get that after we get this precept real quick. Just showing in the New Testament they even quote Amos 9. This is Acts the 15th chapter, and we're gonna read verse 16 and 17. It says, after this I will return and will build again the tabernacles of David. So even the apostles knew what Amos speaking was a future prophecy, because the northern kingdom was removed from the land. This is another indicator that the Juju beings on the other side, to go back to that sister's question or to the video she sent and what other brothers is speaking of, this shows that they can't be the people, because not one do the Juju beings speak of the northern kingdom. They don't speak of Ephraim. They don't speak of Naphtali. They don't speak of Gad and Reuben. They don't speak of Zebulun. They don't speak about Asher. They don't speak about Manasseh. They don't speak about the northern tribe at all, which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, because the northern kingdom got removed, 2 Kings 17, and right, the southern kingdom got removed, right, starting with the exile of Babylon, right? It says, and I will set it up that the residue of men might seek after Yahweh B'Ashem Yahushai, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, saith Yahweh B'Ashem Yahushai, who doeth all these things. And through the Spirit, what Gentiles is called by his name? The Israelites that have been scattered four corners of the earth. Yasharallah. Right? Because only the Israelites belong to Yahweh B'Ashem Yahushai. Right? So now let's deal with, it's going to be no more physical temple, which is already started as soon as Yahweh Shai established his ministry. And when he gave up that, when he got beamed up to the Father, he was setting up that spiritual temple through the apostles, because it's building, the foundation is the apostles, prophets, evangelists, and the teachers, and Yahweh Shai is the chief cornerstone to lead us into where we at right now. This is the spiritual temple, right? So the elect are the temple, starting with the men. Because if the men, the apostles, the prophets wake up and they're feeding the sheep, the rest of the men that are not teachers, right? The women, which is a lot of women, and children are going to come into faith, right? The Lord is bringing back the old way, which is raising up the seers, the visionaries, those that predict the future, those that are counselors through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, that's coming to feed the people right on the right way to move, and how they should have faith, and how they should care for one of how they should care for their brothers, how women should be in order, how they should be covered, right? Our attributes spiritually, right? So that eventually the elect is going to cleave and endure to the end. Let's get Revelations 21 in verse 2 and 3. In the KJV it says, "And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem," right? New is afresh. And this is not speaking of the place, it's speaking of the people. Because Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, verse 17, 19, show you that the land of Yasharallah, the land of Israel, will be destroyed through that time of World War III, or Armageddon, or Armageddon, if you want to say. Coming down from the Most High out of heaven, the elect is coming out of those chariots, right? Above the sea of glass, which is the firmament, prepared as a bride adored for her husband, starting with the 144,000, leading on to the other men, women, and children. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, "Behold, the tabernacle of the Most High is with men." This is speaking about the 144,000. In order for us to have this understanding now, the Lord had to raise up the apostles, and as many prophets, as many apostles, as many evangelists. Of course, we know the 12, but apostle means to be sent out or called out, right? And the Lord, through the Spirit, picked out those men that were going to teach the song of the Lamb and the song of Moses from all the way from 1969 all the way to the time we in now, until he makes the famine of the word. So it don't matter if you've been here for a year, 2 years, 3, 5, 4, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It was all Yahweh Shem Yahushai is doing, especially if you're teaching sound doctrine, which is 100% truth, right? So the tabernacles of the Most High is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and the Most High himself shall be with them and be their power. The Lord is with those 144,000. This is why they were able to move so sufficient. That's why some of them on this side is going to be that sign, right? To actually put more faith in other folks, if they're around to see it, that some of the men of the Lord are going to get martyred for not for teaching his word, for being a witness of Hamashiach Yahushai, and not bowing down to the image or the system of the beast, right? Or not taking this charagma, this physical mark in the hand or the forehead, however they're going to try to insert it in you, right? People are going to be martyred because the same thing that happened back then for Yahushai getting persecuted, then after him, the Pharisees had to get in their lot, because when Yahushai was on that cross and then he rose and he went up to the Father, the ministry was getting persecuted. Those that were of the faith, people were afraid to say Yahushai Hamashiach near the Pharisees, right? They was ashamed to say it because they thought they'd be condemned. But you had apostles and prophets that cheered and honored in the suffering just because they was teaching his word, right? So even in our time, yeah, you getting mocked, ridiculed, scoffed at verbally on social media or in person. But soon the ministry is going to be persecuted either in our nation and in the midst of the other nations, starting with Esau. That is beautiful. Let's drop down to verse 22. Revelations 21 in verse 22. And this is what it reads. It says, "And I saw no temple therein, for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, power almighty, and the Lamb are the temple of it." Right? Because Yahushai is the foundation. The Heavenly Father this is all from Yahweh. He have given this blueprint to Yahushai. Just like when we go to Psalms 118:22, It was marvelous in the Lord's eye that the builders rejected the stone, right? And they already were marked when they did it at that time to usher in whoever they is in today's society. Is people faking the fuck, but they truly don't believe in Yahweh Shai, right? Let me read this in NLT. It says, I saw no temple in the city, for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, power almighty, and the Lamb are its temple, right? The temple is them. This is why we must abide in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, right? To sum this up, the third temple is not this physical building we think that we need to have, that these Edomites saying they're starting to build the third temple, right, in Jerusalem. But the Israelites, starting with the elect, joined together through Yahushua by faith, the chief cornerstone. The Most High dwells in us through the Spirit, and that's the temple he is building in these last days. The temple within us. And everybody don't have the privilege to be at a spiritual temple because you're not spiritual, right? You don't believe in the Heavenly Father's Son. If you don't believe in the Son, you don't believe in the Father. Side note, if you say believe in the Heavenly Father, it should be more people speaking about Yahweh Shem Shai. It should be more people wanting to learn. It should be more people changing their lives. The economy would collapse even more when Jake would get their daily bread, not try to be in the limelight. Oh, summertime, let me be a streamer. Let me make all this money. If we were to stop being a consumer, stop pushing baddies and all this other bullshit, this economy will fall even faster. But Yahweh Shem Shai has the expiration date, and he is guiding his elect to truly cleave and be that temple. So Lord willing, this is edifying and straight to the point. Lord willing, I covered certain points. Hey, if the Lord allow me to probably do another lesson on it if I have to. But all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit. And the mighty shalom to the hopeful elect in the same Spirit. Shalom to the Akwad that are believers of this faith and this truth. Lord willing, as a whole, y'all continue in sound doctrine and in the same Spirit. And Lord willing, the Most have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. Shalom, shalom, abab, abab.